All right. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage. As always, I'm your host, Adam Smith, with Just the Tips Coaching. With me, as always, is our marketing director, one of our other coaches, all around superhuman, Mrs. Jen Waybor Hart. Jen, are you with
Hi,
us?
Adam.
There you are. Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Still a redhead.
Still a redhead.
Got it. Actually, I
And we're
saw a
color
bunch of
coordinated today.
we are. I saw a bunch of your TikTok stuff with Lainey and her red hair, and she's so adorable. It was really cute. But yeah, and then I figured that kind of translated into what we want to talk about on our Sly broadcast stuff this month, which I thought was also really cool. But we can talk about that as the show goes on. Let's welcome back to the show one of our favorite locals. No question. It's not all that often that we have local agents appearing multiple times on our show, but welcome back, Sally Simmons. Hi, Sally.
Hey, y'all. Happy Monday morning and April Fool's Day.
I know a lot of our audience is listenership and not necessarily viewership, but for those of you that are only catching the podcast and not the video cast, Sally has a killer pair of eyeglasses on. They almost look like they have batteries in them. They are just they're going to be an enormous distraction for me through the entire podcast, I can tell, but they're very, very cool. So how are you, Sally?
Oh, I'm doing great. Yeah, doing really great. How about y'all?
Been busy.
Yes.
I heard you guys talking about vacations, which are pretty much non-existent in our lives, because one of the coolest things about the modern technology is that it gives us the opportunity to get away from the office, and it means that we can never get away from the office.
It's true.
So
Exactly.
there is a lot of that. And if memory serves, and I think you guys may have been chatting before I put my headphones on, Sally, you're getting married this weekend.
I am getting married on Friday.
On
Yep.
Friday. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
That is
I'm very
really cool
excited.
stuff. Did you guys already chat about newlywed type of shit? Because Jen's a fairly newly wed.
We did.
Just
We hit
briefly.
high points a little bit. Yeah.
Jen's actually at about 6 months.
Almost a year legally, but 6 months since the ceremony.
Actual reception.
Yeah.
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 All right. Very cool stuff. So I don't know how that compounds it, but Sally, life is chaos, and the real estate business is chaos again.
Oh yeah. It's been heating up since I was on vacation in the new year. So.
And having time to throw a wedding in there, that should be easy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We're having a small ceremony on the courthouse steps with our closest family. So.
Okay. Well, good. Well, let's talk about what's gone on in real estate stuff this year, because we've obviously talked quite a bit on a transactional level, working for home buyers. But tell me what you're seeing as far as these changes.
Oh man, the day that the
Big sigh.
Yeah, the day that the lawsuit that they were like, we've come to an agreement, we've settled. Well, everybody's like, oh, it's going to appeals. We won't know anything for years. Don't worry about it. And then Friday morning, a couple weeks ago, I woke up and it's like NAR has settled. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And so that day, all of my friends, all of my clients, former, future, and current clients were calling me, hey, Sally, what's going on? How is this going to affect your business? And I was like, well, what a kind way to approach it, because everybody else is like, how's this going to approach us? What are we going to do going forward?
Right.
And, I've just told them all, I'm like, I just have to continue to show my value to you as my clients and make sure that you're taken care of. And then the rest will follow. So far this year alone, I've had to have 3 people pay either all or part of my commission for various reasons, for sell by owner, commission offered lower than, way, way low or whatever. And it's just one of those things you kind of just talk to it. I've been talking to my clients about this forever. I do buyer consultations. I check the box. Seller may pay, buyer is obligated to pay. And, I explain it up front, and then we just do whatever we can going forward to write it in as a concession or whatever. It's not really that new here in Colorado.
Right. So you're already doing the work that think is going to be the standard, the status quo after July.
Yes.
Okay. And it's funny because I wasn't really going to thrust us into the conversation about this right off the bat, but if we have an opportunity to have a successful real estate agent on the show, and this is obviously still very big news, we certainly want to take advantage, make sure that our audience is getting a grip on what actually went on, what is going to change, what they should be doing to get in front of it. In fact, I'm sure that you'll see the invitation. We've got a roundtable in our office here in a couple of weeks, 2.5-ish, Jen?
Yeah, invites will go out this week.
Okay. And I think that will be certainly the subject that we'll discuss, considering we'll have, 10 or 12 high producing agents in the room. But it's certainly a big deal. And I am almost an outsider looking in. There are a few things that really concern me. One is that I thought the basis of these two big lawsuits that were tried in federal court in the Midwest and eventually settled were really brought about. I mean, they're civil cases. They're not criminal. They were tort cases, class action lawsuits. But the basis of it, I thought, was antitrust violations. And I can't see any antitrust violations. And I don't think there ever have been as long as I've known how to spell real estate. I can always decide what company I want to work with. Again, not that I give a shit. I really care about the agent that I'm working with. I'll be perfectly honest, Sally. I don't even know what company you work for.
A lot of people don't.
Right?
They don't
I
care.
just want to work with you. And if something came down the pipe and I discovered that you were working with Remax and I hate Remax for whatever dumb reason I could come up with, then it's still my choice. I can go work with an agent that works for Keller or EXP or whatever the case may be. And if I don't like you as an agent, although nobody's ever said that, I'm sure, then I still have the freedom to go choose another agent. I mean, hell, we only have 25,000 of them in our market, so that shouldn't be too difficult. So I struggled to find where the antitrust violations actually occurred. I am not an attorney. I am not going to make my assumptions on whether or not there were or weren't. Of course, if there were, wouldn't we be seeing criminal charges, investigations? I don't know. In any case, I watched a lot of the testimony and was absolutely flabbergasted at how poor the representation for the defense, meaning basically the real estate agents at large, was on the stand. I thought they did a horrible disservice to the real estate community as a whole, and I'm even more distraught with the defense attorneys as far as who they thought would be good representatives of the real estate community as a whole. Then we get to the settlements, which is really mind-boggling to me, although I think I understand some of why it was done. But I think that you were right, Sally. I think that it would eventually go up the chain, possibly even be heard by the United States Supreme Court, and that it would take years for there to be any significant movement one way or another for anything to happen. But NAR settles, and a couple of these big real estate companies settle. And from what I can gather, the settlement versus an actual lawsuit, a losing lawsuit, regardless of how far up the chain it went, would result in NAR being able to pay that money differently. There were available insurance claims, that kind of thing. So I think that there were some things in there from a financial standpoint that made a settlement make more sense. I don't know. However, what a horrible disservice NAR did to its members, to its agents. I can't imagine that there's a significant amount of renewals going on there. I would assume that the NAR population will drop significantly. I don't know. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what the future of the MLS looks like. I mean, there's just so much convolution in what this means that I think that's the appropriate focus. Let's just keep doing our jobs. And let's just keep making sure that we're taking really good care of people, and the rest will fall into place.
That's 100% my approach, because right now, I mean, now there's a new alternative to NAR. I don't recall what it's called, but people are leaving NAR in droves. And unless their MLS requires them to be a member of NAR, or their company does, they can definitely do that. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. I'm just keeping my head down. I've taken every single class my office has offered, every single class that's been available to me through all of the realtor associations, my company, friends, companies, lenders, title companies, whatever, everything I can get my hands on, just so that I've got the most well-rounded interpretation of what's going on and what to do going forward.
Okay, well, then you've probably got more education on the subject than most.
I mean, it's definitely taken up a lot of my time, but I mean, my goal is to be the best I can be. And the only way I can do that is with as much knowledge as I can get my hands on.
Okay. And with all that wealth of knowledge, what do you think changes for the consumer? Probably little.
Not a whole lot. I mean, like I said, a few people have had to pay my commission this year. And way back to when I got started, we had a company called Trelora.
Sure.
They would offer $100 co-op. Well, $100 co-op after you work with someone, and everybody's like, oh, you only showed me one house. Well, the work really gets started once we get under contract. I was just talking to Jen about being on vacation. Everything was good when I left town. Perfect. Stuff really hit the fan right after Christmas, before New Year's. I'm somewhere with an 8-hour time difference, staying up at night, every night, the entire vacation once that happened, making sure stuff got done. I was the first person to reach out to everyone at 8 o'clock in the morning, which was whatever that time was there. I think it was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon there, and staying on top of it till 5 o'clock, which meant me staying up till 3 o'clock every night on my vacation to make sure we weren't missing dates and deadlines. Things were getting accomplished. Answers were being had first thing in the morning, and people were doing what they were supposed to be doing. So everybody's like, you showed me one house, and why should you make all this commission? And it's like, that's not what we make commission for. Anybody can show a house. It's the getting you to the closing table and getting stuff done. And so we deserve our commission for that, whatever that looks like.
I think that's funny, because I do think a lot of people misinterpret what a real estate agent actually does. And a lot of the consumer base thinks you're a glorified door opener. And of course, that's not where the work lies. We see that a lot with the appraisal process as well. People, the guy was only here 15 minutes. Like, well, that's because he just needed to lay eyes, get some photos, get some measurements. An actual good appraisal report's probably 8 hours worth of work, because most of it's done on the computer, because what that house has going on is irrelevant, really. It's a tiny little piece of the puzzle. It's all the other properties that are in a similar area, of a similar size, similar age, similar values, similar updates, on, that have to be researched and investigated, and comparables made and adjustments made, so on and so forth. So I understand the consumer's perspective that there's a lot of misunderstanding of what your job actually is. I think the biggest one by far, though, is that you are actually practicing a small segment of law.
Absolutely.
Of contract law. And people don't understand how valuable that is really a good piece of the puzzle, but how intensive that is, how much risk there is, how significant the details are, these kinds of things. And yeah, I think that we're just talking about, well, what's the old Tommy Boy line, what the American consumer doesn't know is what makes them the American consumer.
Yep.
Right. So there's certainly a lot of that. But yeah, I think that it will, well, this is certainly going to be one of the biggest changes that we've seen in the real estate industry for some time, what went on with these settlements and what changes will have to be made to how buyer agreements are done and contracts are done and commissions are done, so on and so forth. It's really something that we deal with a lot in the lending industry. Obviously, the regulation, it's been years now, but came down like a hammer. State licensing laws independently in all of them, federal licensing laws, the inception of the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, all kinds of things. So it's things that we've seen and dealt with, and we just pivot and make adjustments and keep on keeping on, as it were. And I would think that the biggest piece of that puzzle from your perspective today is education. And actually, Jen, I think we talked about that. Maybe we haven't recorded that weekly little tip yet, although I do have that coming if we didn't already, or what the distribution date would be. But education is freaking huge. For all of you listening, you've got to do what Sally just said she's been doing. Get fucking educated about what is actually going on for a number of reasons. One, you guys all have a shit ton of myths to dispel. The media is literally screwing you because they don't understand what's going on. They just want to sell shit like the rest of us. They just want to sell their wares. So I'm not anti-media. We just need to understand that it's part of the entertainment industry, and that's what they're there for. But there's a lot of that is going to have to be dispelled. And on the flip side, you've got a ton of education to give. You've got to make sure that the consumer, and certainly your clients, your leads, your advocates, hey, that's me. I'm one of Sally's advocates, are educated as to what's going on, educated by you because you have gotten that education, so that you can help people understand exactly what the hell is going on. Because right now, the consumer is, if they're paying attention to it because they happen to be in a position where they are buying or selling or plan on doing so soon, they're in a tizzy. I mean, this is chaos. And the amount of data the amount of false data that they're getting from the media is insane. So not only is it huge that you are getting educated about what's going on and that you're able to educate people about what's going on, but you've got to break down all the bullshit that's been put out there that's wrong. So yeah, I'm exhausted just thinking about it.
Oh, I read a Yahoo article the other day, and it was this gal. Take a nap. It was this lady in San Francisco, and she wrote this article. She was like, do not sign anything with a buyer or seller agent right now. You can go out and see whatever houses you want. What you're going to do is you're going to end up seeing these a la carte services where you'll pay someone $500 to write a contract, and then maybe you'll pay them $100 to help with the inspection. And I was like, not this girl. Maybe maybe someone else, but I mean, like the Trelora folks starting out with $100. Those sellers, nobody was showing those houses, but I would show those houses. My clients like the houses. I would negotiate my commission into the home price.
Sure.
Just like it's been all these times. Every comp for the past however long has that in there. So sellers are going to have to understand, the news is saying sellers are about to net more money. No, they're not, because the appraisers are still using the same comps that have commission built in. So I don't know how this is going to happen. So all of a sudden, it's interesting. It's very interesting to be a part of it. And I'm just going to make my changes I need to and just do it.
I do think we'll have to see some adjustments to guidelines for appraising properties, for lending on properties, these kinds of things. No question that sort of stuff will have to come down the pipe here in the next, 18 months, 30 tops. Depending on what we see as far as how the real estate community figures out how to structure this in a manner that's logical, ethical, so on and so forth. That kind of thing, no question. I heard another one that I thought was really interesting, and now I can't remember where I heard it, but that as a consumer, as a potential home buyer, I would be required, and apparently this was something from NAR to its member agents, saying that there would have to be additional documentation executed, something contractual, if I wandered by an open house and wanted to go look. And I was like, well, okay, that seems really bizarre. There's no way that the real estate community allows that, because you're not doing an open house to capture me as a buyer for the house. You're doing an open house to capture me as a potential future buyer or seller. That kind of thing. And we love open houses as lead gen techniques and tactics for our real estate coaching clients. But that one was really strange to me. And then I guess the commentary was that, this was going to be a law that NAR was going to make. And I was like, wait, okay, stop right there. NAR doesn't make law. The legislative branch of our government makes law. NAR does not get to make laws. They do not get to enforce laws. They are a trade organization. So for all of you that are concerned about what NAR wants, what NAR is dictating, what NAR says you have to do, you don't have to do. You want to stop being a member of that organization? fine. If they don't figure out how to clean things up pretty quickly, I'll bet a lot of people do. And don't get me wrong, NAR has had its periods. There were decades, literally, where, and I could pull up all the pins where I'm the, major NAR donor, blah, 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 through the local realtor board, because 9 out of 10 times NAR was fighting the fight that a mortgage lender would want fought.
Right.
Whatever that happened to be. And NAR has 1 million members, or did, and a huge amount of money coming in, an enormous lobby. So they were actually able to accomplish more than the National Association of Mortgage Brokers or the Mortgage Lenders Association, the trade organizations that exist directly in my line of work. So I was constantly giving money to NAR to accomplish those things. And there was a time where they were. I mean, that seemed to stop years ago, but it was years and years that they were really doing good work to represent homeowners, to represent real estate agents, and to represent all the people that are affiliated with those two groups, home buyers, home sellers, and the real estate agents that were making that possible. So I think that this will be a really big change. But for those of you that are concerned about the laws that NAR is changing, NAR doesn't change laws. Let's just make sure that we have that out there. They don't get to create laws, change laws, enforce laws. They don't have anything to do with that. It's a trade organization. So we'll be clear on that. Everybody can breathe a sigh of relief. Well, NAR cannot have you arrested.
No. Well, in RE Colorado, you don't have to be a member of NAR or to be a realtor to be a participant in our MLS.
Right.
So I wonder, the ones that you don't have to be a member of a realtor association, like how much of that they actually have to do, how much of that they will actually do, and what it's all going to look like come July.
Ooh, I don't think anybody knows yet.
Yeah, I certainly don't, despite all my classes.
Well, I understand, although it's in fairly short order. We're basically talking, another 90 days or so.
Yeah.
And I think it will just be one of these things that we kind of adapt and adjust to as we go. We're just going to kind of throw everybody into the deep end of the pool and see who can swim.
Yeah. Well, at first it was a transparency. They were like, let's put commission amounts on everything.
Yeah.
Show it on Zillow, show it here, show it there. And then now they're like, nope, let's not show it anywhere.
Let's not show anything.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that eliminates their liability.
It's just wild.
Not yours, but theirs. It doesn't eliminate the liability of all the NAR members. It just eliminates the liability of NAR.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Let's not confuse what's going on here in this particular process. What's gone on now over the last 12 months with these enormous lawsuits. We're definitely seeing a every man for himself kind of mentality. Let's protect our individual organizations, and I guess we'll just hope for the best.
Yeah, I think after all this is said and done, the lawyers made the most money, and each homeowner makes between $12 and $25 a piece that was in the suit.
Really?
About a worthwhile amount of money and time, huh?
I love tort law that way. It is highly entertaining. For all of you homeowners that were participants, plaintiffs in that class action lawsuit, yes, you did buy the attorneys a new Learjet. Actually, it's probably a Gulfstream or a Citation, although it's very nice, I assure you. And yes, I hope your $25 was worth it. And maybe it was.
Yeah, get you a nice lemon onion at the Outback.
You could supersize your Happy Meal.
Yeah,
no question. I think the kicker here from the consumer standpoint is that it had been this way a long time. Right or wrong, it was probably time to create a little bit of upheaval in the real estate industry. We're going to clear a lot of bad blood. We're going to get rid of a lot of shitty agents. It's kind of like the basement scene with Michael Corleone before he goes and kills the cop, the chief of police, and the other mafioso family leader. And he says, yeah, this shit's got to happen every 5 to 10 years. We got to clean out the bad blood.
Yeah, so here we are.
Yeah. No, I did not just compare the real estate industry to the mafia. Or did I?
I mean, you're not wrong.
All right, let's talk about some shit that's actually going to be relevant to our audience, and we could probably talk about what's going on with NAR and those lawsuits being settled for hours and hours. But what do you think this changes when it comes to your lead gen, Sally?
Well, I always like to give people, I like to take people on a home tour, see a couple houses before anything is signed. Like, do I like them? Do they like me? Are we going to work well together?
Totally.
And now it sounds like the new rule put into place is going to be that we have to have buyer agency signed before we even show them anything. So it's going to be a little different. Everyone's like, well, lawyers get stuff signed. I'm like, yeah, but that's a little bit of a different relationship. Like we're going in, I'm laying on the floor, letting you know if your king size bed will fit here or not. Is that going to work for you? Or are you going to be somebody who's going to be like, she's not serious enough for us?
My lawyer would do that.
Your lawyer goes, like, your king size bed will definitely fit here.
Jen's nodding. Yes. She knows him.
Mike absolutely would.
Yeah, Mike would do that.
I need to meet your lawyer. So I think that's going to be kind of awkward, like meeting somebody. I usually work with referrals, so it won't be that awkward, but people that are like buying Zillow leads and stuff, or these Zillow phone calls that come in and they're like, you're supposed to meet the people. You can't ask them if they're pre-approved or all these other things. Apparently there's a bunch of caveats. And before you could even show them a house,
they're pre-approved.
Got to get it signed. Oh, apparently you cannot ask the people if they're pre-approved. This is what I've heard. Zillow doesn't get any of my money. They worry the crap out of me for it, but they don't.
This is one of Zillow's rules that if you're buying Zillow leads as a real estate agent and you get a lead and you call it a buyer lead and you call them, you can't ask them what they're approved for.
That's what I've heard from people who've been buying their leads with Premier Agent. I don't know this.
How do you know what to find them?
Oh, I don't know. Well, I mean, they go on and they choose a house. They're like 534 Main Street. I'd like to see it today at 2. Then you're just supposed to go meet them today at 2. I think when you meet them, you can talk to them about it. I really don't know the ins and outs.
Okay.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
And so we really, okay. So
it's just going to be awkward to meet a stranger at a house at 2:00 and be like, okay, we've just met. I really don't know anything about you. You don't know anything about me. Sign here.
Oh, and by the way, I don't know if you're pre-approved or what you're approved for.
Right.
So we're going to go look at this 1-bedroom condo in the slums, and then we're going to go look at this $12 million penthouse in Cherry Creek.
Right.
Cool.
All right. See, I don't work those leads because I don't want to encounter some kind of shenanigans and like be in any danger meeting a stranger somewhere. So
yeah, that has happened.
But I know a lot of people, it's their primary form of business, and kudos to them, but it's just not me.
Well, and don't get me wrong, there are obviously very different business models in real estate, just like there are in mortgages. And Jen and I are constantly talking about how the business model for some of the bigger companies like Rocket, or I can't even remember what the local one is that runs radio ads all the time, American something.
Finance.
And of course, the ads are funny to me because salary-based loan officers, I'm like, well, that means they're getting a base salary and hopefully commissions. And because if they're not getting commissions, they're not going to get a base salary for very long because they aren't any good at what they do and they'll be gone. Those kinds of things. But it's just a different model. It's more of a numbers game. They're just looking at shit, red stamp, green stamp, so on and so forth. Whereas you obviously know after working with us that if somebody's not quite qualified for what they want or at all, then let's nurse them back to health. And then we'll get them out there. And if we really focus hot and heavy on taking really good care of people as individuals, as people, really making sure that their financial needs are getting satisfied for the long term, then yeah, we have a repeat and referral business. We don't have to buy leads or advertise or any of those kinds of things. So I think it's a more pleasant way of doing business, but it is literally just a different business model. And if somebody's doing business and they're doing good business, I'm not going to knock you, right? Jen and I always say we'll never judge you for how you do your lead gen. We're just going to judge you if you don't do it.
Right.
So, yeah. So by all means, it's just a different model. And if you're a big company, big agency, big team spending big bucks on little Z, that's a joke for one of our other coaching clients who goes by Big Z. So he refers to Zillow as little Z. Then yeah, I get it. It makes sense to me, but I just it just doesn't seem like as much fun to me. It just doesn't seem as rewarding to me. Chasing internet leads and working with strangers and potentially working with people that I don't like, and while Slim potentially working with somebody that might do me harm. It just doesn't appeal.
Yeah, no. There's no obligation. And that's, you look at them they look at you as a transactional relationship. You look at them that way. You're not necessarily building relationships. I know that's not how everybody does business, but I like to establish a relationship, have a good time. I'm making friends when I do this too, not just helping people buy and sell the biggest thing they'll ever buy or sell in their lives.
Oh, absolutely. That's certainly a big part of it. And we often have commentary on the consumer treating people in your role or in our role as a commodity. And if you guys are dealing with a lead, a client who would literally buy the Burger King cheeseburger instead of the McDonald's cheeseburger because it's a nickel cheaper, then that's probably not the client for you if this is how you're structuring your business. If they are going to treat you like a commodity, then let it go. Go work with people that actually understand the value, understand what you bring to the table. I can say that about Sally, you guys, because we've worked together. I know what she brings to the table. There are a lot of real estate agents out there that should be treated like a commodity. Although I suspect that, there's a reason that the historic, we'll see what the new stats look like, that the historic NAR stats are that 80% of agents fail in the first 2 years, 85 in the first 5 years. I'm sure those numbers will go up more now with this upheaval in the real estate industry. But yeah, it's definitely a big deal. Know your worth. All of you, agents, loan originators, insurance agents, financial planners, family attorneys, everybody that falls within the spectrum of the people we coach here, Just the Tips. Know your worth. You're valuable as fuck. We think so. You better think so. All right. I'm going to end on that because we've already run over time, according to Mrs. Waybor Hart.
It's true.
Trying to get that through my thick skull, Mrs. Waybor Hart. I'm getting there.
You got
sure.
it.
All right.
Sounds natural.
All right. So what else are we up to these days, Jen? Don't get me started on text code bullshit.
Ugh. Yeah, me neither.
Thank you,
will
FCC. That's even worse than NAR.
If you are watching live, that our little ticker at the bottom has our website because we are dealing with text code stuff. But you can find out everything we're up to by going to justthetipscoaching.com, including Social Media Day Denver. So still have a couple more speaker and sponsor spots for June 14th. That is our annual social media conference that we pair with Metro State University on. Big thank you to them for helping us out every year. That event's for everyone. I get asked all the time, who's the audience? Well, it could be anyone. It could be somebody who does social media. Right. Or does your business show up on social media? Right. It's everything from the CEO to the assistants to whoever. So we do have some space for speakers for there. I actually have a speaker this year coming to talk about mental health in relation to social media for your business. So I'm excited to hear her. We've never had anything like that at Social Media Day before. But if you're interested in being a speaker, sponsor, any of it, email me at smdaydenver@gmail.com. Other than that, you can find all past episodes of our podcast, our weekly little tip, book one-on-one coaching, get copies of Adam's books, literally all the things by going to justthetipscoaching.com.
Cool stuff. Hey, Sally, thanks.
Thank you.
I know we really cut into some of your private time to do this morning, so it was really nice of you to agree to do it again.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to next time.
Cool. That was my next question. So we'll tick that box off. Sweet. And congratulations on your impending nuptials.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I'm super excited.
You should be. Very cool stuff. And, we think they're lucky to have you.
Oh, thank you. Me too. I'm also very lucky.
I agree. Absolutely. All right. So that's it for this episode of How I Met Your Mortgage. But you can catch us live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn at 9:30 Pacific, 12:30 Eastern on Monday mornings, pretty much every Monday morning, barring a few exceptions. And then you can catch the actual podcast on Wednesdays on Amazon, Spotify, and Apple. And we will be back next week with another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage. And we'll see you guys then.
Bye, y'all.